President Cyril Ramaphosa set out the ANC's priority points for the year during his speech on Saturday. These actions include renewing the ANC and holding a national dialogue in building a better South Africa. This is the first January 8 statement since the formation of the Government of National Unity after the ANC performed poorly at the polls. Joining us now to unpack the priorities set out by the party's National Executive Committee, as outlined by the President. We are now joined by the ANC's National Chairperson, Gwede Mantashe. Thank you so much for making time for us this morning.
Morning, Aldrin. Morning to the viewers.
I think sometimes what happens is that people tend to confuse the NEC statement on January 8 to mean that it is the President's speech. It's not the President's speech.
It is the National Executive Committee statement for the year. And the President presents it on our behalf.
Yeah. So how then should we understand the language that is being used? I saw yesterday, on Saturday, when I tweeted what the President was saying as he was reading out the statement, and one of them is that we will instruct government, or no, we expect of government, and people arguing that, but this is the leader of government, is the President of the ANC.
No, but the ANC is a party. It doesn't dissolve into the Government of National Unity. It remains the party. And it represents particular principles. That's why, for example, if you look into the theme of the year, is the year of renewal, to make the ANC a more effective instrument in the hands of the people. So that means when we govern, we must be an instrument in the hands of the people. It's not an ANC governing for itself. For its own purposes, and that's why it put emphasis a clause in the Freedom Charter of people shall govern and people shall share in the country's wealth. That is what the ANC should stand for and should continue doing so. It's not doing it for itself.
Yeah. Okay, let's speak about, before we go to the priorities, the theme around renewal. And it's not the first time that the ANC has spoken about its renewal. The party even has an organizational renewal document that I think it's after every 5 years that gets presented, and there's discussions around what is in the organizational renewal document. Why do you think renewal is so elusive for the party?
It's not elusive. The only confusion is that people think that renewal is an event. Renewal is not an event, it's a process. It will take place over a period of time. It's a program. It must be followed through, step by step. Every small improvement. You remember when we adopted this theme of renewal, all our leagues were not functioning. All our leagues today are in good standing. That is the process of renewal. And many other things are going to happen step by step. That is renewal. It is like the National Democratic Revolution. Many think that there's no National Democratic Revolution because they think it's an event, it's a process. It takes place over a period of time. It has advances, it has setbacks.
It has advances and it has setbacks. And what are some of those setbacks, do you think?
Setbacks is the failure to get majority in the 29th May 2024 elections. That was a massive setback, because it meant the ANC will have to use its brain quicker to ensure that there's governance and it protects state power without having a majority. Hence, we had the Government of National Unity. And many of the people who criticize Government of National Unity start at the Government of National Unity. They don't start at losing the majority. And therefore, because you lost majority, how would you make sure that there is government, there is stability in the country, there is no war? You see, in many countries, when a ruling party loses power, there is war, there is instability. We had to ensure that we take the responsibility of ensuring that there is stability and there is government in the country.
Yeah. With that loss of power, the NEC statement speaks about some of the reasons behind it, is looking at, yes, internally with the parties, of course, looking at the branches and the status of the branches. Yes. But then externally, where you are in government, is the performance of the economy and also poor service delivery or lack of service delivery in certain cases. To what extent does the ANC then say that perhaps maybe it is our policies that have led to that poor economic outcome that we are currently experiencing? Or what would you say is at fault or with the economy?
Execution and policy are not the same. You may have good policies, but poor execution. So we must pursue execution, and that execution is a function of the quality of the people who must execute the policy and the program. If you don't execute, even if your policy is good, you will not succeed. So our view is that we should put emphasis on execution. That's why if you go to the 6 priorities, we put the question of building the branches as number 1. Because somebody thinks that the ANC is the NEC. No, it is not. The ANC is its membership, which is in the branches. And quality of members determine the performance of the ANC, because the ANC is a wall-to-wall party. It must have presence in every ward, and it must perform in every ward. Sometimes members of the ANC write in social media that the NEC must do this and NW must do that. And sometimes I engage them and tell them that no top 7, no NWC, no NEC will build a branch. The branch leadership will build the branch, and the branch leadership will execute programs of the ANC at branch level. That's where the impact is.
Yeah, but then in terms of execution, that means getting people who are fit for purpose to actually execute some of these policies.
Yes.
So where would the ANC say that actually we've had a few missteps here and there?
Let me give you this example. I'm running a ministry in government. When I was a mine worker, the DG of that ministry was a white male with matric. And we're told that he has experience and all that and all that. Today, we're having a DG there who is having an engineering degree and MBA. That is an improvement in terms of quality. But it doesn't end up there. That qualified DG must lead the team into executing the work of government competently. Sometimes it doesn't happen, but when you look into the outside qualifications of these people who are appointed, they're good. And we should make those appointments. Number 2, we should also appreciate the fact that coming from the background of Bantu education, which we didn't prepare us for leadership, and we take leadership, we need to do something more than just qualifications to transform ourselves from the products of Bantu education to executors and to very efficient implementers of programs.
Yeah. Is this a new realization?
It's not a new realization.
Yeah, because remember that the ANC had a ready-to-govern document.
It's not a new realization. Yeah. That's why, Aldrin, if you look into government today, 1994, government was actually run by white males. Simple. You can say that. The fact that we've transformed the state in itself is quite a positive step. But to get that transformation into a machinery takes its own process. That's why improvements are systematic, are a step by step, and they go from low performance to better performance to improved performance. And I'm one of the people who believe that we should not cut contracts of DGs into shorter periods. We must extend those periods so that a DG must enter the office, find the foot on the ground, begin to improve, and then lead the team.
Yeah,
but it's not that DG who will perform. It is the team that will perform.
The NEC statement also reflects on Eskom. And electricity and the struggles that we've had, and somewhat we've turned that corner. But I want to bring out this aspect. It was in the business day last week when Teto Nyati, the chairperson of Eskom, he says that our power station managers complained about the localization policy. Has the ANC sat down to ask themselves that what is it about the localization policy that would have led to Eskom failing to make sure that there is a provision of electricity?
It's a complaint that should not be a complaint, because you must aspire to grow and improve. Local manufacturing and local industrialization, therefore localization, cannot be counted in negative terms, because we have a responsibility to build internal capacity. Let me give you an example. Go to the collieries. Coal mining of yesteryear was major companies, international white companies. Coal mining today is run by black companies. Black companies. Seriti, Exaro, Tungela, you can list them. And then small emerging companies. That is, when I talk to analysts who look at it from a historic perspective, say nothing is happening. And I say a lot is happening because we've got black South African participating in the economy in a meaningful way. And that participation of black South Africans in a meaningful way ensured that there's no shortage of coal in Eskom. If there is any mistake in Eskom, it will not be due to the shortage of coal. It will be due to the question of the competence of the people appointment. So localization.
Yeah, but there was an issue around the quality of that coal as well, remember?
No, the quality of coal is a function of a person who receives it. But if I receive a delivery from any other company, I have a responsibility to actually inspect the quality of that delivery. If it does not, it means there's something wrong in the chain of delivery and receiving of that coal.
So would you say that with the government of national unity, what is clear is that BEE stays and there's an expectation that they must follow that policy?
It's not
all political parties that are part of the government of national unity.
It's not a government of national unity issue. It's a transformation issue for the country. We are coming from a history where blacks were not regarded as human beings, where they were not regarded as citizens, where they were not allowed to participate in the economic activity of the country. Now BEE opens that up, and we must do it because the blacks are 80% of South Africa. That is Africans only. But whites are only 8%. We cannot continue depending on 8% of society. Therefore, BEE is an imperative. It's not a policy choice.
Yeah, and our unemployment rate still remains as high, with black people in the majority still being the ones that are affected the most. So has the policy actually worked?
The policy
to
works,
deal with that specific aspect?
The policy must work. The policy must be continuing.
Must, but has it worked?
No. Let me give you this. You see, if you do a checklist when you assess policy, you're going to commit dangerous mistakes, okay? Because you'll drop that policy and say, let's try something new. What is important is that policy has worked overall. Because if you look into society today, that society of today is much more educated and literate. And that in itself transforms society. And the time lag between changing the quality into the effective implementation is also important. It's an economic concept that there is time lag. And therefore policy is working. And the policy will have to work. In the statement, when President presented the statement, he put the question of inclusive economic growth and employment creation as a priority. And therefore, we must focus on that issue. And it should not be a theoretical issue. We must be able to say, in sector X, this is what we're going to do. In sector Y, this is what we're going to do. We must absorb a number of young people into employment. We must equally empower young people to be employment creators themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, why then do we see that as an example where the ANC is governing, the provinces where the ANC is governing, you still have the highest unemployment rate compared to, for instance, a Western Cape? What do you think the issue there is?
Let me give you this example. Look at the development narrative of the Nationalist Party. It focused on the Western Cape, on Gauteng and KZN, Durban particularly. And every other province was not regarded as an economic center, despite the fact that Northwest, Northern Cape, Limpopo are the future channels of mining. They were not regarded as such. They were expected to dig that mine, take it to the centers. Until we change that conceptualization, we add value at close to where the mining is happening. That will not change. We'll still praise the Western Cape and not... Actually, I was in the Western Cape for the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Okay, I was in the Western Cape last 2 weeks. I took time to go to Khayelitsha. I took time to go to Philip. I went to... and I also took time to travel around the mountain and went past the 12 Apostles and see the difference between Khayelitsha, Gugulethu, Nyanga, Langa, and Hout Bay, Camps Bay, and all those areas. And until we correct that situation in the Western Cape is a fake, glorious
But they
province.
still have the lowest unemployment rate.
Because they make it a white province. And when they deal with Africans from the Eastern Cape, they still regard them as foreigners.
Yeah, but they still have the lowest unemployment
Yes,
rate.
because they focus on their citizens who are mainly white and colored.
But is the majority not black and colored in the
It's
Western
colored,
Cape?
in the majority is
Yeah.
colored, and Africans are there, but the province is focusing on servicing the white section of the population. And that balance, you will not see it until you visit the Western Cape and you visit Gauteng, for example, where there's an effort to ensure that everybody is involved.
Yeah, that then speaks to that question around inequality, right? And the perceptions around inequality. And Sunday Times, you saw the article in Sunday Times, I'm sure,
Yes.
with the Secretary General of the party and the yacht that docked on Robben Island. Was it an ANC decision to say that the Secretary General must use?
That is a peripheral issue.
Sure.
That is a very peripheral issue. Because the issue is a delegation of the ANC visits Robben Island.
Yes.
The president go to the Mandela cell, and that is the highlight of that visit.
Should be.
Yes, that is the highlight. It should not be. It is. And that is where the highlight is. People visit the Robben Island, the ANC go to all the areas, they read the history. How Mbalula, the Secretary General of the ANC, goes there cannot be the main focus of the visit. Okay.
But we're speaking about inequality and pervasive.
No. Let me give you this example. Let me say there's a meeting in Bloemfontein, and the delegation goes in a taxi, and I'm left behind. I don't think it should be the focus of the visit to Bloemfontein that somebody takes me in a car and rush me to Bloemfontein. It cannot be. Mm-hmm. The focus is that a delegation of the ANC visited Robben Island and took very important lessons of the history of Robben Island and the impact it has had in the history of the revolution and the struggle for South Africa. And the Robben Island that shaped a number of people who became a think tank for the revolution. That is the focus. How Mbalula goes there cannot be the main focus.
Yeah. So was it an ANC-sanctioned decision to say that you're going to use this yacht to go to Robben Island and then...
No, there was no ANC meeting that took that decision. So don't make it an ANC decision. There was no such a meeting. We had the NEC, I attended that NEC. There was no decision about yacht or any other mode of transport. That's not a decision. But what is important is that it was reported in the NEC that a delegation will go to Robben Island, and that delegation did go to Robben Island.
I'm just trying to remember now the NEC member who was in conversation, Donald Misilamulela, last night told Xoli Mgambi that this was actually arranged by the ANC. The transport was arranged by the ANC.
The ANC is an organization. It has departments. I would imagine that in the operations...
So it could be an ANC decision?
It could be an ANC operational decision in the offices.
So it is an ANC decision?
It's not an NEC decision of the ANC. That's where the highest decision making is taking place.
So as the chairperson of the ANC, what do you then read into this? Are you saying that there's absolutely nothing wrong with it?
No.
It was just the mode of transport that was being used?
No. What I read from it is that it should not be attributed to the ANC.
But it's an ANC decision.
No. No, Aldrin, look at this. If you want to make that the ANC decision, I will know that there's an element of mischief there. Okay, there's an element of mischief there. I will understand that because I'm old enough to understand that. The actual decision of the ANC is a delegation of ANC leaders will go to Robben Island and visit Robben Island and take various lessons from there. If in the process one of the officials take a yacht with a businessman to that place, cannot be the ANC decision. It can be an issue of that official taking a yacht to go there. Ideally, everybody should be in that ferry. Okay. Ideally, everybody should be in that ferry. But there is this side show that attracts attention away from the focus of the visit.
How are you going to deal with that sideshow? Is it there?
No, we'll deal with that when we meet and we'll discuss.
Is it today?
No, we're not meeting today.
You're not meeting this Monday?
We're not meeting today.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you'll deal with it in which sense?
When we meet, we'll discuss and try to find out what happened and so forth, because it is not an NEC decision, okay? That is where we sit. I'm not running the administration, I'm not running organizing, I'm not running logistics. If they take that decision that the secretary must go in a yacht to Robben Island, they take that decision. It is within the ANC, but it's not an ANC decision.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. What image do you think it leaves people with, considering that, for instance, when the NEC statement starts off, it starts off with the president reflecting that where we are right now, he says that this is where wealth and poverty converge. It's a convergence of wealth and poverty, where theft was committed. And the argument that you made earlier on about the inequality in the Western Cape, what message do you think that sends?
No, the message says, all the message that it says to all of us is our ability to be sensitive to perception. Okay, we must be sensitive to perception, because perception is real. Okay, that is the message I'm taking from it. But the main issue is that the focus can never be on the yacht. It should be on the delegation visiting Robben Island. It should be a vision of the president of the ANC sitting in Mandela cell and communicating from there and beginning to go to the quarry and understand how that quarry was used to humiliate great brains of the ANC.
Okay.
That's what should be the focus.
On strengthening the fight against crime and corruption and building safe communities, there is Operation Shanyela, which continues, as the president says in that statement, to sweep crimes out of communities across the country. And Operation Vala Umkoti, which is dealing decisively with illegal mining activities. We know what's happening in Stilfontein. And one of the organizations there, Macau, accusing the government of massacring. They say that this is a massacre, it is a genocide. Those are the words that they are throwing about. As a leader of society for the ANC, how do you respond to this? And also the ability of its own deployees like yourself to say, how do we deal with the issue around illegal mining in the country?
Aldrin, one of the things that surprises me in South Africa is when South Africans will throw human rights at the center of criminal activity. That worries me. Because it means once you throw human rights at the heart of a criminal activity, it means you are preaching tolerance for criminality. That's what we should do. And Makua should also take more care not to promote criminality and say we must protect criminality against justice and fairness. I have consistently making the point that the question of illegal mining is a criminal activity. When they said mining must deal with it, I said, then you will have to tell Finance Department to deal with cash highs. Those are equal criminal activity. You know that question of trade of illicit minerals is estimated to be about 60 billion in 2024. That is a lot of leakage from the value of the economy. And therefore, we cannot be merciful in dealing with that criminal activity. We must deal with it as a crime and appreciate that people are underground. It's a voluntary entering into a risky place. It's a voluntary activity by an individual who goes to a dangerous place voluntarily. When I was a trade unionist, one of the things that I fought for, it is in the law today, is that minors must refuse to enter a dangerous place. That is the law today.
Yeah, well, some say that they have been abducted, they have been kidnapped and so forth, that they were misled and so forth. But those are other issues that will be dealt with at a later stage. But I want to bring in the aspect about the owners of Biffelfontein's mine, Harmony Gold. They stopped operations in 2015. They still don't have a closure certificate. Shouldn't they be the ones who are responsible
No. There is Buffalo's Gold.
Yeah.
It's a company on its own,
Okay.
which is operated by Chinese. So it's not a derelict and ownerless mine. That's why in the discussion of the rescue operation, we dragged them in and said, you must be part of this. If you say you still have no money to operate this area, but you must be here and take responsibility, and then we'll see how to assist the operation. But it is not a derelict and ownerless mine. So it's not Harmony, it is Buffalo's Gold.
Buffalo's Gold.
Yes.
Okay. So are they funding this current operation?
No, that current operation, they take the responsibility. But we have to raise funds from various sources, including my department, by the way. Including my department. We raised the fund, we had to talk to the Mineral Council, we had to talk to many people to fund the operation. But Buffalo's Gold, we have consistently said, take the responsibility, because when you take shape in your operation, you'll have to refund us.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Okay. A final, are you at liberty to share the amount?
No.
You can't?
I can't.
It's not the 12 million rand that has been reported?
I don't know
You're not too
how
sure?
much it is,
Okay.
because it will depend. It's a moving target. Okay. For example, we say we are giving a notice of 10 days, but the operators have come up with, as I said, maybe it may take a bit longer. So that means that is a moving target. You can't say it's this amount.
Okay. Final one is on last year, the NWC, this issue around the KZN as well as Gauteng, the decision on whether to disband or not, and the three options that the Secretary General has said is available. What happens now?
The NWC will have to meet and take a firm decision and go to the NEC, and the NEC takes a decision.
Also, the NWC is meeting today?
Not today.
Not today.
Yes.
Okay, so there's going to be an NWC meeting.
Yes.
Does the NWC then say that this is the report that we submit to the NEC and this is our recommendation?
The NWC processes every work that goes to the NEC and make recommendation, and the NEC takes decision.
Okay, then. Thank you so much for your time. National Chairperson
of
the ANC, Gwede Mantashe, and also the Minister of Mineral Resources. Thank you so much for making time for us.